that wasn't my choice of study, right? I wanted to be a doctor. I was a biology student. I was wanting to be a doctor. I couldn't get into MBBS, and that's why I got into engineering. Because in India, either you're a doctor or an engineer, right?
Welcome to Global Tech Talks, Decoding the Success Variants. Global Institute of Engineering Technology proudly welcomes you to the first episode where I'm glad to invite Mr. Meraj Faheem, Director and CEO of EdVENTURE PARK and Founder CEO of Code for India and Code.in. Please, sir.
Thank you, Tejas.
Please have a seat. So, Meraj, we have gone through your social media, your LinkedIn, and we have found that you hold a multidisciplinary background. So, we want you to say more on what you've studied and what exactly have you figured out in your line of study.
Okay. Not a really, encouraging educational background per se. I'm a biotech engineer by degree, but then that wasn't my choice of study, right? I wanted to be a doctor. I was a biology student. I was wanting to be a doctor. I couldn't get into MBBS, and that's why I got into engineering. Because in India, either you're a doctor or an engineer, right? Otherwise, your life is slightly more difficult to explain people what you do. So I'm a biotech engineer by degree, BTech in biotechnology, and after that I also did my PG in clinical research from Hyderabad, and that's about it. After a really long gap, now I'm pursuing my master's in psychology and another bachelor's in law.
That's really inspirational. This is what we want our viewers also to know. Because many people have made their mindset that after my BTech I'll be doing a job. I don't want to do my master's. But then somewhere they lack the essence that they have to do. Just not that they are knowing or just to become a bookworm, but then they also need to have the practical knowledge, which I believe by gaining masters is more. What do you think?
Masters is important, okay, and when I say important, it's not like mandatory for people to do masters, but most importantly, you need to know what is that one thing that you have figured out in your bachelor's that you want to master about, right? So unless and until you have figured out there is something that you love doing, that you love pursuing, something that you're madly in love with and you want to really pick it up, you cannot master it. Let's say you really love arts, right? And unless and until you know that you really love doing arts, you will not want to master it, right? So the whole schooling process, the college process, the undergrad process, it's a process of exploration and experimentation where you figure out that one thing that you want to spend working on for the rest of your life, right? And that is the most critical part of your school and college journey, which I think somewhere is missing in India thanks to the cultural reasons. And we are all part of the problem, okay? I'm not blaming anybody. But until and unless you know, okay, there is something that you really want to do and you really want to master, what are you going to master, to do your master then?
That's really what our viewers also need to know. So then, okay, coming off to a little chiller side of yours, there must be many target lines, you're handling so many stuffs. How do you ease out yourself? Any cozy corner of your sports or any book that you love to read or anything as such?
I read books, but then it's not like I read books because I want to finish books. I think there are very few books that I actually finished, and my method of reading book is slightly different. I go to books when I'm looking for answers, okay, and this is my method of finding answers to my problems that I face on a daily basis. So, like you mentioned, I run an EdVENTURE PARK, right? And we have incubated about 248 companies in the past 3 years. And working with 500 plus student founders is a challenge in itself, right? So what that means is, since we are a sector agnostic startup incubator, people come to me with wide range of problems. And I'm not, a 360-degree person where I have to know all the answers to all the problems. That's, practically impossible. Which is where I go to books, right? So let's say if I'm facing a design challenge or a design problem with one of my startups, I go and look at, how did Steve Jobs solve this design problems of his at Apple, right? It will give me an insight on how he looks at things. It will give me an insight on how, or what his method of solution look like, or the process look like, or what did he do when he was at the same point. So that is how I read books. So if you look at it, I have a huge book tower, but I have read almost all the books 50-60% only. I've not finished most of my books, very rare books. And if you ask me which are my favorite books, then number one would be Founders at Work by Jessica Livingston. Jessica is the co-founder of Y Combinator, which is world's first incubation center, and the largest one with more than, I think, close to $1 trillion in assets under management, and of course the most loved incubator. So that's one. Bad Blood is another one. Is the story of Theranos. Bhujia Barons is another one. Is the story of Haldirams. Inspirational story. Right? You look at it, you read that story, you will know how people before us did things, and I think that's a very important way for us to learn, for us to look at our problems, for us to figure out solutions to our problem. And the last book is, and it's a must read for everybody, it's Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. That's the biography of Nike, how Phil created Nike, and how Nike went through multiple stages of death. Every single time coming out alive, rocking and kicking, and making it as big as it got.
Wow, I'll definitely go and read upon these. So then today, you are in our podcast in the first episode, and we look up to you as Meraj. So what do you think are the character traits that helped you sculpting in what you are today?
Okay, I'm not sure what Meraj are you talking about, but I think one of the most important things that I have learned early on was we are all here for a very limited time, right? Our time in the world is very limited. So whatever you do, you must make sure you're leaving the world a slightly better place than it was before you came. And if you're not doing that, then you're as good as animals, because nobody technically misses an animal after it's dead, right? You tried for it probably for your pet for a week or so, but then it's not that's not what we are here for, right? As a human being, as someone with mind, with senses, right? God blessed us with senses. So we need to figure out what is that one thing that we want to spend working on, spend our lives working on, and more importantly, being kind, right? I think that's one thing that has changed me in so many ways, especially after I was done with my college. I think I consciously, proactively, very, I practice being kind all the time, and I think that has changed me in so many ways.
Glad to know that. So now I'm curious to know who is that person who you took inspiration from, and maybe how did they impact you, or how did they cast a shadow of their nature on you?
There are many people who I think technically shaped me into becoming what I eventually became, and there are many people bringing in many different angles, to us, and it starts from home. I think most of the things that I've picked up is from my mom. She's my biggest inspiration. She's my biggest reason to for me to do whatever I do. Right? Every single thing that I choose to do, all the projects that I choose to do, there is always this thing on my mind that I think, will this make my mom proud, right? Will this make her smile? Will she be happy if I do this? Is what's on my mind every single time when I'm deciding on doing something. So, and the culture of my house has been slightly different. My mom has always encouraged me to go out and do things that probably might have not been attempted before, and she always provided me with that cushioning in case I failed. And trust me, I failed more than I succeeded. If I succeeded, let's say 3 or 4 times, I've failed 400 times, and it was my mom who I went back to every single time. So that's my mom who shaped me into whatever I became. And then there are so many people outside my house, right? I look up to so many founders, and there is this one thing that I continue to do early on. Even when Hyderabad startup ecosystem was very nascent, still getting started, I used to find founders and I just used to ping them. They were kind enough to reply to a random person on internet and give me their time. The conversations with them shaped my thoughts, shaped my process, shaped my whole thing, the way I looked at things, the way I did things, and all of that. So I cannot name 1 or 2 people, but mentally I can see their faces. I can think of them, what I learned from them, and how I did things from them. So yeah, a lot of historical people as well, but yes, more or less.
I guess this got you nostalgic.
A little,
So,
yeah.
so then now I also say that I many a times think that success is always the successor of failure. So, and failure is not a path. Failure is not a point. It is just a part of the journey that we go on. And the main part is, after every step we go down, what makes our energy to put up to the next step. So what do you think was your biggest motivation, which still motivates you to last till eternity?
I would like to believe that I have been designed slightly differently, okay? And when I say that, I have a thing for things that haven't been attempted before, okay? For example, I started India's first coding bootcamp, and when I was doing that, a lot of people told me you're an idiot to attempt this thing, to attempt something that wasn't attempted before, right? If somebody did not do it, then there was a reason why they did not do it. That's one. And then I did EdVENTURE PARK, which is India's first idea state startup incubator, and everybody told me you must be an idiot to want students to start, but especially tier 2 and tier 3 students, right? Students like you and I. I was of the thought, and I was of the idea, believe that boss, there's something out there, and I'm going to look for it. So a lot of that is experimentation, and like I said, if I hadn't gotten the exposure that I got early on in my career, I don't think I would have chosen this path less traveled. I wouldn't have done things that haven't been attempted before, because usually, and I meet a lot of people, okay, and I speak to a lot of people with ideas. So usually there's this fear of failing, and I call it the joy of failing. Okay, so you fail at something and you figure out 10 different things that you did not know before, right? So that's a discovery process, that's an educational process, and you must learn something from it, right? And what are you going to do with that is the most important part. You cannot make it an entertainment process. Okay, yeah, I'll go, I'll experiment, I'll fail, and I'll come back. Okay, there's no glory in it, right? You can't do that. You can't keep doing that. So it has to be backed up with a solid purpose, right? Because when you attempt doing something really huge, really big, and even if you fail at doing that, you will fail big, right? And the process of failing at something big is extremely rewarding. Okay, and the world will know you for attempting something really huge and big that hadn't been attempted before, and failing at something big that nobody had the guts to fail at, or to even give it a try. But of course, you have to do it for the right reasons.
That's really like I cannot say, because these things are something that not just is said to someone, but then this imbibes into our blood, and then we are now onto a journey. Like basically, teens or people at between age say 17 to 24 are on an important age because they have to shape up their career. And at this time, taking these risks are rewarding is what now I understood from you. So then now, as you said that there were people who used to come out and just backlash you. So you must have broken many taboos like that. And society always puts many taboos, especially now when we are saying that entrepreneurship is something that has come very new in India. So the society must have like a barrier of taboos. How did you break them, and how do you advise the budding entrepreneurs to break them?
Oh, Tejas, I'm not sure if I have broken them. I don't think I have broken them. I'm trying to. And I think, India is at an extremely interesting point right now. Majority of our population is young, 17 to 35, 18 to 35. 65% of our population is between 18 to 35. So what we have to understand is we cannot change the culture of a country overnight. But if you look at things have started changing at a rapid pace, right? So every single point in time in our lives comes a point where things hit a breakout point, and from there we either go all up or all down, right? And I think India's time has come to go all up, okay? And that responsibility is in your hands, because you guys are in that age group and you guys are going to take the country forward. Now we cannot take the country forward thinking backward, or thinking how our ancestors did things, right? How maybe, let's say, people who came before us tried and did things. They did things they had to at that point in time that were contextually and periodically relevant. If you try and do those things, it's not going to work out. And I keep saying this. Earlier in India, it was the craze for the government jobs, right? And then came the craze for, let's say, the MNCs, right? And then came the craze, to go abroad and get a job in US, UK, Australia, whatever. And now it's startups, right? So times are changing, and times are not just changing because of the demand or the global race, but it's changing because you and I have started thinking differently. Okay, we don't want to continue thinking the way our parents thought, right? Having said that, we've got to be super duper rooted. We have got to understand our cultural values, things that are part of our assets, right? And we cannot forget them. You cannot copy paste the culture from others just because you see them going up. You can't technically just do that. So point being, things will change regardless of us wanting them to change or not. The best you and I can do is be prepared for it, be super open-minded about it, and not get stuck with hey, we only used to do things this way, so we'll continue to do it this way. We cannot do that.
You've rightly said, as the time has come forward, even we have to put the steps forward to achieve that. Now, as you were saying that now we have to get in more ideas, so now I got this thought that when many ideas come in the faces of people, so we have teams wherein many people, many ideas will collide. So when that collision happens, there will be some kind of, maybe we can say a healthy competition or say, or we, for the
Are
fact
you talking about friction?
Yeah, a friction. For a fact, we can say that not all the 5 fingers are equal.
Mm-hmm.
So as are members of a team.
Mm-hmm.
So when this happens, how do you try, how is your team? So we are curious to know how is your team, does this healthy friction happen, and do you supervise them, and do you how do you mentor them, or they mentor you? We want to know that.
So, great question. Okay, one of the most important leadership traits is the ability to get things done. Okay, and when I say ability to get things done, a leader's ability to get a group of people on the same page as him, to believe in the vision, to believe in the objective, to believe in the purpose that the leader has come up with, and get it going with the people is the difficult thing, the most difficult thing. But that's exactly what gets you where you're supposed to be, right? And how does this work? How do you actually bring a room full of people to on the same page, bring them to consensus, and then get it going? And this is where your ability to empathize with people comes into picture. See, I call it art of taking feedback. Okay, all of us are blessed with very different minds and mindsets. Okay, and we have to respect that. God has created in a very different way for a reason, right? This world would have been a super boring place if everybody thought alike, right? If you and me both loved chicken biryani and everybody in the world loved chicken biryani only, then the world would have been a super boring place, right? It would have been a plain and dull place to live, right? And you would have wanted to die sooner before you actually die. Which is where the part of diversity comes into picture. Okay, you have to learn to understand why a particular person is putting up a point which is different from you, right? What is the source? What is the root of that thought? Root of that idea? Root of that let's say point of discussion, which is different. So how do you do that, and how does that fall in sync? Which is where art of taking feedback comes into picture. All of us think about different things very differently. What is really important is for us to be able to respect their views, believe that they are, whatever they are saying and sharing is in the best interest of the organization, in the best interest of the purpose, the objective. But a lot of times you will find a lot of narcissistic personalities who would want to get things done their way, regardless of if it's right or wrong or whatever, which is where the problem starts happening, right? So if a leader cannot sense that, and if a leader cannot bring everybody on the same page, then I think you should find a different leader, right? So you cannot fix that. So like I said, and I'll repeat myself, leaders' primary ability is to get different people with different strengths and different weaknesses on the same page and get stuff done.
That's really because many people need to know this point. So this is what many people need to know. So now I want to ask you that when a journey becomes inspirational, that only happens because the cause is the road taker has done or set up a higher benchmark that has not been till now set up in a normal situation. So you have these institutions, Adventure Park, you have Code.India, you have Code for India. So how do you look up at your institutions?
I don't know. All my offices, all my organizations, be it the for-profit initiative, which is my bread and butter, the hacking school, or all my not-for-profit ones, Adventure Park is not-for-profit, Code for India is not-for-profit, Landmark India Foundation is not-for-profit, right? Every organization was started with a purpose, right? And the purpose was really simple, really clear, really out there. Okay, we never had confusion ke karna kya hai, right? We never had the confusion ke okay, what are we going to do? We never had that doubt. We never had that confusion. We never had even for a second we did not think ke this might have not been required. This is not required. Okay. So, but yes, there were a lot of projects that we believed there was somebody else who is doing better, and we joined forces with them, right? We told them, hey, you're doing a great job, and I think, and we think we can help you with this one, and we gave it to them. right? So we believe in multiplying efforts and forces. We don't believe in competition. We believe in collaboration. So all my organizations, if you walk into any of my offices, right, you will see lots of young and beautiful people who are out there wanting to work with other young and beautiful people, regardless of the ideas, regardless of where you're coming from, regardless of what's in it for them, regardless of how do I even know how to help you or not, right? The mindset is, what can I do for you? Okay, so this is the primary culture of all our organizations, and the culture statement is very simply put. We call it go far, do it. Okay, FAR stands for flexibility, accountability, and responsibility, which means you have the flexibility to work the way you want to work, the times that you want to work, projects that you want to work. You are accountable for your work, but you're responsible for everybody, right? And then the second part of this culture statement is do it. DOET. Delegate, ownership, empower, and trust. Without these fundamental qualities, core values, I'm not sure how you're going to run an organization, right? At least I don't know how to. So any newest team member at any of my organization, we bring them on the same page as this with this culture statement. And when they see this, they're like, wow, yes. Because more importantly, we believe in the power of goodness. We believe in the power of everybody. Okay, we don't treat people like, hey, you're just in your second or third year of engineering. What do you know, or what can you do? We don't say that. We say you might have something in you, and we want that. Okay, and we figure that out over a period of time, and we spend a lot of time to do that the right way.
That's really, I can just say that this is an intelligent curiousness that you people have, and also a humility, because you get every new person into the same page that you are. And I really wish I can come over there someday.
You're always welcome, and this is another very important bit. Always welcomed and never invited. So you don't have to wait for an invite to come to us at any given point in time, which is how we have managed to bring literally almost every organization, every institution in the city to EdVENTURE Park, right? You will find medical students, you will find engineering students, you will find arts and commerce students, you will find business students, you will find students of design and architecture, everybody, right? We don't make them think, hey, I'm a medical student, what might you have for me in there? They come and they figure out.
That's lovely to know. And now I'm getting like, oh, okay, now I'm just waiting for my right time to come in there. Now,
the time is now.
I truly get that, copy paste. So now I just wanted to know that when we achieve something, awards or recognitions are something that cement, that show that we are going on the right path. And it kind of cements the trust we are holding on ourselves, on our team, and whatever we have established on a vision maybe. So then now I want to know, like, what are the awards and recognitions you have, personally or as a team?
None actually. Having said that, being offered a lot of awards, but I have a very healthy disrespect for awards. Okay, and when I say that, when I say healthy disrespect, it's not that I hate them or I disrespect them out of anything negative about them, but I believe a lot of these things are manipulated these days. Okay, and they technically don't mean anything. And most of the times I have seen a lot of awards and recognition being bought, which decreases its value. And that's where I, very politely, very humbly, very nicely say, okay, I really appreciate that, but I might not be the right person for this award. So yeah, but like I said, it humbles me down. I definitely appreciate them doing that. But I think unless, and I hope, you all go and nominate me for Padma Shri, and then I'll come back to your podcast and say, hey Tejas, I've got a Padma Shri.
Right.
Yeah.
We are very eager for that. We are very eager for that. Now we also wanted to, now this is acting as a testament that you're doing great and you don't need a seal of someone who actually says, hey, you're doing great, because you're already so empowered in yourself and you're so in yourself and your company that you are humbly leaving it for someone else, and this
Very
I see as a
recently-
motivation for someone else.
Yeah, very recently I figured out the term for that is self-actualization, right? This is the phase of your life where you basically don't wait for people's appreciation or feedback or motivation or push or awards, right? These things technically don't move you. These things technically don't push you, right? You don't need those things. You're not doing things for appreciation anymore. You're not doing things, because people will, tell you, wow, you're doing a good job anymore. Of course, it's important. It feeds your soul and all that. But then the process of self-actualization, when that kicks in, you do it for yourself, right? You're doing it because you are happy doing that. You do it because that makes you happy, and there's nothing else that makes you happy. And you asked a question about the stress part,
Yeah.
right? I don't know what stress looks like. Things that you're calling stress, right? Overwork and this and that, we call it hard work. Okay? And we got to understand that when you pick up something that you love doing, you cannot be stressed at all, right? Because it's making you happy. Have you ever seen anybody, who love doing something, call it stressful? No, it's not. You have to understand that. Things become stressful, your job becomes stressful, your project becomes stressful when you take the fun out of it, when you don't enjoy it anymore, or when the outcomes of it don't motivate you anymore, right? And that's when you'll have to look for another job or another project.
Life has become life has become something that everyone is on the purpose to just embark themselves on some or the other thing, and most of the time it has become that people just want to stay busy, not that they want to sit idle, because the generation of sitting idle and relaxing has gone. Everyone just want to be like a bee, just buzz everywhere around, put their shadows, put their benchmarks, put their stones on their name, and then just move here, there. But at some point of time, they also feel that this is not enough. The craving or their hunger just becomes more wider as they receive things. So how have you been? Did you reach any level of that you want to do more, and a very big more?
I'm not sure if I got your question, but I think I'm just getting started. Okay, and there's a lot more that I have to do, and there's a lot more that I want to do, and there's a lot on my plate right now, and I'm hoping I would be able to do justice with what people have entrusted me with. People think I know incubation, and I'm still learning incubation. Okay, we designed pre-incubation program. We were in fact India's first coding bootcamp to actually design a pre-incubation program. Right? India back then had incubation programs. Now that's a responsibility. Okay, and it's not about doing more. It's about doing what you need to do regardless. Okay, now the more part only comes into picture when you have finished level 1. And I don't think, it's going to take my whole life for me to finish my level 1, because the vision is incubating India, right? And you can't do that alone. You can't do that in one lifetime. I need everybody with me for us to be able to do that. And without that, I think it's going to be super difficult. So yeah, there's no more yet.
Right. So then, as you said, you want India. So then we say that every team is made of an individual. So now let's say for an instance, an individual is aiming to become an entrepreneur, then what would you advise for him from the point of view he is holding, or what he is seeing the road of entrepreneurship as? What could be the success that they think, but what could be the delusions that they think that is success?
Like I said, I might have very controversial and contrarian views. I would never recommend anybody to follow the trend. Okay, you following the trend already means, if you see a trend, it already means you have missed the bus. What I say is, don't follow the trend, follow your heart, put your mind to what your heart wants, and then you will see magic happening. Okay, and all the trends that you see happening, that you see moving these days, were started by people who believed in doing something. For example, everybody is talking about AI. Okay, and Sam, when he started OpenAI 5-6 years ago, technically nobody was talking about AI 6 years ago, right? However, if you dig a little bit deeper into the whole AI revolution, you will see there have been researchers building large language models for the past 20-30 years now, okay, which Sam leveraged to build OpenAI because he believed in it. He did not see AI trend, he started the AI trend, right? He created a use case for it with ChatGPT, right? And now everybody is wanting to build something on top of it, which is great, right? So the point here is, we should stop thinking about trends. We should stop thinking about what's the market looking like right now. Let's create market, and I very strongly believe the more we train our minds and hearts to look for opportunities that way, our minds and hearts will find opportunities that way. But if you want to just study the trend and keep going, sure, no problem. But there's only one life, right? And why would you choose to follow a trend and not create one, is what I would say.
You've really changed the perspective that I look upon things, because you're inspiring me that don't follow the trend, make the trend. So I really am gonna back this up.
At least try doing that.
Sure, I give my word to that. Now from 2021, we are recognized as 4th entrepreneurs globally, India. So do you think COVID has paved a positive way for entrepreneurship?
To be very honest, COVID was definitely a game changer in both good ways and bad ways. But then we have given COVID more credit than it deserves. Okay, what I mean with that is COVID just catalyzed the process, right? If there were companies who were waiting to die, COVID just catalyzed the process and killed it. But then if there were companies who were waiting or on the path to becoming successful, COVID catalyzed it and made them successful. COVID saw the birth of so many new technologies, so many new companies, so many new opportunities across the world, and the other way around as well, right? We saw the death of so many companies, so many small businesses, so many large businesses, so on and so forth. So I don't think it's again got anything to do with COVID. It was just an excuse. It was just a let's say an event that basically catalyzed the whole thing. Otherwise, everything is the same.
So as you see people around you now, do you think if anything's got forward, but then if anything as COVID happens again in the same adversity as it was, COVID or some pandemic, so do you think that now the world has this consciousness that the creativity must go on? Do you feel that? Do you feel that it has come?
Of course, but then more importantly, I think COVID basically told all of us that there can be no 5-year plans, right? How many of us, or how many corporate companies, how many large companies had COVID as part of their 5-year plan? Or how many companies had AI as part of their corporate strategy or product strategy or on their product roadmaps? None, right? which is what COVID or AI or all these revolutionary changes that we are seeing in our lifetime have are brought up to the surface. Okay, point being, you have to start looking at things very differently. You cannot plan for the next 5 years. You have to plan for the next 1 year and start executing today, right? And that's how the definition of vision has also changed. You'll find a lot of organizations who probably have created their vision statements 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and put it up on a wall, and that never changed. Right? That's ridiculous. That's crazy. And what that means is you're still 30 years behind. And if you are 30 years behind, tell me, how are you even able to see things today? You should technically be blind, right? So what I mean to say is, you plan for the next 1 year, set up not so long-term goals, cut them down into really short ones and start executing, right? As you keep moving forward, you see things more and better and further and farther, and that's how you keep improving, that's how you keep adding to your vision, that's how your vision technically becomes dynamic. It cannot be static.
Static and dynamic are those two words that should run in a person's mind, and it should have an impact that life doesn't stop for anyone or for something at any cost. This is what Meraj has said us today, and I hope this podcast was very informative for everyone who wanted to take entrepreneurship as a goal, as a journey, and I really encourage them that to enjoy this journey as Meraj did. Now, I'd like to humbly thank you for giving your time for our first episode, and we are very delighted, beyond the words, we are delighted to have you in our first podcast. And now, Global Tech Talks and Global Institute of Engineering and Technology is taking its pride to have you as our first guest.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me. And like I said, first ones are special. So thank you so much for making me special and feel special.
That's the least we could do. And a small token of respect and a small token of memory, I'd like to invite Faheem sir, Director, Global Institute of Engineering and Technology, to give you that.
Thank you so much. Honor and privilege both mine.
Always. Thank you for accepting our invitation also. Thank you so much.
Thank you.